Hi, I'm certified personal property appraiser Dave Maloney, author of Appraising Personal Property Principles and Methodology. This video is another in a series of hot tips for the personal property appraiser. To see all my videos, visit my YouTube channel at youtube.com/asktheappraiser. Note that throughout these tips, I make reference to USPAP. USPAP is an acronym for the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice, which are promulgated by the Appraisal Foundation of Washington, D.C. The goal of USPAP, which is updated biennially, is to maintain public trust in the appraisal profession. For more information about USPAP, visit appraisalfoundation.org. One of the biggest problems with personal property appraisers is the appraiser failing to follow the appraisal process. The appraisal process is a model for solving appraisal problems regardless of whether it is for real, personal, or business property appraisal assignments. It is this appraisal process on which the standards for appraisal practice are based, hence the importance of understanding the appraisal process. USPAP divides the appraisal process into 7 action steps. These first 6 steps involve appraisal development and are governed by USPAP's standard number 7. In step 1, the appraiser identifies the appraisal problem. This step requires that the following assignment elements be identified by the appraiser. Identify the client and other intended users. Identify the intended use of the appraiser's opinions and conclusions. Identify the type and definition of value to be used, cite the source of that definition, and develop an opinion of exposure time if it's necessary to do so. Identify the effective date of the appraiser's opinions and conclusions. Identify the item and its relevant property characteristics, its ownership interest being appraised, and any encumbrances that are on the property, such as liens, restrictions, etc. And finally, identify any applicable assignment conditions that might be encountered, such as limiting conditions, extraordinary assumptions, hypothetical conditions, and jurisdictional exceptions. In step 2, the appraiser determines the scope of work. That is, what work will be required to produce credible assignment results. In the following steps 3 through 6, the appraiser continues with performing the scope of work deemed necessary. Note that it is not until this point in the process that the appraiser is able to even accept the assignment. Why is that? Because the appraiser is prohibited by USPAP's competency rule from accepting the assignment until such time as the appraiser has properly identified the appraisal problem, has determined the scope of work, and has made the determination that he or she has the knowledge and experience to complete the assignment competently. Assuming the appraiser has so determined, he or she may now accept the assignment and proceed with step 3 in order to complete the assignment's scope of work. In step 3, the appraiser analyzes the property's current use as well as alternative uses which might cause the property to have different values. The appraiser also defines and analyzes the appropriate market and analyzes relevant economic conditions regarding the subject property, such as its marketability, its rarity, scarcity, and its supply and demand. In step 4, the appraiser collects and analyzes data and applies the most appropriate approaches to value. In step 5, the appraiser analyzes listings, agreements of sale, or prior sales of the subject property. But note that this step only applies if developing an opinion of market value or market value type, such as when determining a value for a client attempting to sell the property, or when valuing an item that is being donated to a charitable organization. This step would not apply, for instance, if developing an opinion of replacement value, since replacement value is not a type of market value. In step 6, the appraiser reconciles all value indicators and arrives at a final value opinion. These first 6 steps conclude the appraisal development phase of the assignment. In other words, the appraiser has now completed the scope of work and has concluded all the work necessary to produce credible assignment results. The only task remaining is to properly convey those results to the client in what USPAP refers to as the report. The seventh and final step of the appraisal process involves reporting the assignment results to the client. This seventh step is governed by USPAP's standard number 8. Be sure to follow this entire appraisal process closely, including all its steps, paying particular attention to the often overlooked yet critically important step number 1, problem identification. For several hundred pages crammed with hot tips for the personal property appraiser, be sure to get a copy of my book, Appraising Personal Property: Principles and Methodology, at appraisalcourseassociates.com.